sanity reigns supreme, and safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists. It's comforting to know an ancient, fat, long-haired, bearded reprobate has your mind in mind. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California. And despite every attempt by the SHR Media Network to revoke his shameless contract, we return to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. You got a belly up to the bar, we've kept your seat, and it's great to see you back tonight. It is, oh my gosh, July the 16th, the year of our Lord 2019. Kelly is going to be your bartendress tonight. She pours for the best of them. The lava lamp is, in fact, lighted to my left, your right, as you're watching the show. I got to tell you this. We don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversation. Politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all right here at the saloon. Nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All we ask is that you flush the toilet, jiggle the handle, and don't forget to tip your waitress. Tonight in the saloon, we have a very special returning guest, and I have read his book. We're going to be talking to an author tonight. It's a fabulous book, and I am blessed to have him on the show. My guest tonight is thriller author Matthew Betley, whom I have had the distinct pleasure of interviewing before, this last time back in December of 2017. Yeah, it was way back then. And that was regarding his then newest book, Oath of Honor. Now, to date, Matthew Betley has written 3 books in chronological order. They are Overwatch, Oath of Honor, and Field of Honor, with his 4th book released today entitled Rules of War. That I am speaking to Matthew Betley tonight on the occasion of that release is no coincidence. So many thanks to David Brown and Simon & Schuster for arranging the interview, the advance copy, and the honor of being able to speak to you, Matthew Betley, on the birthday of your new book, Rules of War. So, Matthew Betley, happy birthday, sir.
Oh, thanks, BZ. I appreciate it.
First things first, thank you for staying up so late for tonight's interview. I fully acknowledge your sacrifice of time. This is literally...
Could be. Yeah, go ahead.
Literally, you have been up all day. Thank you for placing the show on the promo portion of your page. My guess is that you've been doing stuff like this all day. And seriously, it's about 8:03 on the left coast, which means it's about 11:03 on the right coast where you are. And that's why I say I greatly appreciate the time that you're taking to be here tonight, sir.
Oh, absolutely. No, I totally appreciate it. Believe me. And I'm getting a little bit of a second wind, so we'll see how long we go. Okay. All right.
I never have fewer than multiple hundreds of questions because anytime that I talk to you about your books, what I'd like to do tonight maybe is talk briefly about your background, launch immediately into your new book, Rules of War, and on the back end maybe ask you some questions about your experiences and what drives you today. You've got an extensive bio, and one of the things I want to tell people about is if you want to read his books, Matt Betley is a thriller author. Now he's got 4. Go to MatthewBetley.com to find out all of the stuff about where he is. So to shorten things up a little bit, you grew up in Ohio, you went to Miami University, you were an intern investigator in Washington, D.C. for a public defender's office. You graduated, you worked in corporate America for a while, and then you went into the Marine Corps in 1999. So you became a Marine officer. You were trained as a scout sniper, platoon commander, an infantry officer, a ground intelligence officer. You were deployed to Djibouti, Fallujah, Iraq. Prior to the surge, you've been in staff officer support billets. And I'm going somewhere with this, folks. You learned that enemy rocket and mortar fire doesn't discriminate between billet types. Obviously, facts.
Yes, this is true.
Facts and evidence. Your first book, Overwatch, was nominated. It was published in 2016 for a Barry Award. It was nominated for a Barry Award for Best Overall Thriller. Boom, right off the bat. And you were named a top 10 book of 2016 by the Military Times. How apropos is this? The second and third novels were Oath of Honor and Field of Valor. They got similar critical acclaim. And now today we have Rules of War having come out. You're a recovering alcoholic, and I think it's time for me to say this. First, Matthew Betley, congratulations on your 10-year AA coin in March.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Congratulations on your blue check mark from Twitter. It only took you, 75, 76 years, something like that?
So it's really funny because since that happened, the famous people who have followed me is like mind-numbing. I'm like, wait, who? And I won't go into the list of the people who follow me, but it's pretty wild. And I had been told a year ago by somebody very, very well-known, and that when you get the blue check mark, it actually makes a difference. Now, I kind of was dismissive about it because I figured being a somewhat conservative, I was never going to get the blue check mark. And then I got it, and I actually see what they mean. I mean, the reality is it does have an impact because people will follow you once they realize that you've been verified. But there's a point to this story, and that is it took me literally less than 6 hours after getting verified for somebody to call me racist. And I'm like, what did I do?
God.
I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
And
it was only because I didn't want a female James Bond. I grew up with the iconic character of James Bond. It had nothing to do with race, but this guy immediately just assumed I was racist. And I was like, dude, literally, I was like, you obviously have no idea who I am, what my experiences are, what I believe in, but you're just like throwing out the racist card right away. I was like, okay.
On the other hand, Matthew Betley, did you expect any less?
Yeah, I know, especially with the national discourse. Or actually, it's not even a national discourse; it's the coastal discourse on the East and West Coast. For over the last 36 hours. So no, I'm not surprised by anything.
That's a rather insightful point. I have another congratulations that are due to you, and that's on Dana Perino from Fox News, having picked Rules of War to be her book club selection on Fox Nation for July.
Yes, she is. We've actually been pen pals and known each other through Twitter because she's followed my columns at townhall.com and before that the Weekly Standard. And then she picked Rules of War to be her book club selection. I went up to Fox News in June. I was on her show, The Daily Briefing, talking about the VA and the burn pit issue. And then we also talked about the books. And then we did the interview for Fox Nation that's currently posted on the front page of Fox Nation for all the listeners. She is the most gracious, nice person you could ever meet. Between her and Janice Dean, the weather machine, I don't know which one is getting to the gates of heaven sooner. Hopefully not soon, but you get my meaning.
Yes, I do. And so basically what you're saying is Dana Perino, as she appears on TV, that's her.
Yeah, absolutely, without a doubt. She's been responsive, supportive. She is a truly nice, genuine person.
And I guess I should do this if I'm going to send congratulations out. My congratulations here from the SHR Media Studios to Logan and Sarah for their baby girl Sophia too. I don't want to leave them out.
Yeah, do not leave them out.
Let's get right to your book. Your brand new book, Rules of War, just came out today. One of the very last paragraphs of your prior book, Field of Valor, stuck with me, and I found it just sort of shaking to me personally. It goes like this. I always forget how heavy the dead are, Cole said. In more ways than one, Logan countered. Amen to that, Cole said. To me, that's both chilling and illuminating simultaneously. That's another reason I enjoy reading your books. You insert little gems like this. The dead are heavy, and they exact a toll on us. Does that weigh on the mind of Logan West, do you think, from the very beginning of Rules of War, Matthew Betley?
Oh, always. So he's very self-aware, especially now at this point in the series, and he knows that what he's doing is for all the right reasons, but it takes a psychological toll on him, although he's determined to see it through no matter what, because he's now accepted the reality that he and his task force are the best ones suited to confront this threat in the organization that's been manipulating global events to create instability for the past several years. And but what I've been especially proud of with this book is, everyone knows me for these huge, crazy action sequences.
Right.
But the reality is the characters for me come first. I intend to put the readers right in the middle of the action, but I want them to care about the characters, and as the characters evolve and are forced to go through these harrowing experiences. So Logan, at the very beginning of my first book, he's emerging from a relapse blackout, doesn't want to have anything to do with what's going on, but he's forced into that position. By now, he's fully embraced it.
So, Matthew Betley, set this up for us a little bit, and I'm not going to go into the details of the book because that's why I want folks, you need to read Matthew Betley. MatthewBetley.com, his brand new book, Rules of War. Go to Amazon, go to Barnes & Noble, go to any place that sells books, and you're going to find it, buy it. One of the finest, if not the finest, thriller writer on the planet extant today. But set this up.
I appreciate that. I mean, that's huge praise, especially on a day like today with other big names whose books have dropped at the same time as mine.
I don't even know about that. I'm not going to go there. My focus is on you because of what a great author you are. So set us up a little bit. In Rules of War, the Vice President, Joshua Baker, has been kidnapped already. The NSA director has already been killed. There's some kind of amorphous thing called the organization. And then things start to actually get busy for your protagonist, Logan West.
Yes, so this book picks up several weeks, just a few weeks after the end of the events of Field of Valor. Now, I want all the listeners to know that I intentionally wrote Rules of War in a way that would draw in new readers, but would also be great for readers of the entire series just to pick up. So I do that by referring to events in the previous three books in a way that doesn't detract from the pace or the story that I'm telling in Rules of War. So where Logan and his task force are at the beginning of this book, they know that the vice president is actually a traitor to the United States, that he's a horrible human being responsible for countless deaths and mayhem in the U.S. and across the globe. But the rest of the world thinks he's been kidnapped by a militia. Now, they're on the hunt, and that hunt takes them first to the Caribbean and then to Venezuela. Now, I intentionally, 2 years ago, started plotting this book out. I was following the events in South America. And since my other books had already taken place from Alaska to North America, Mexico, Iraq, the Middle East, and Africa, I said, you know what, I really want to set this somewhere in South America. And with the turmoil that Venezuela is in due to its economy and the horrible conditions the people are going through day in, day out, I had to set this thriller down there. And so Logan and his friends are on the hunt, and about 70% of the book takes place in and around Caracas in a crumbling city and economy.
I didn't see that coming. When I read the book, I dug the hell out of it.
Don't give it away. I know what you're going to just don't. Yeah, and I'm proud of that one.
I dug the hell out of it. I hope I don't Bigfoot your story by saying this. One of the locales is the Humboldt Hotel in Venezuela.
Yep,
Dude.
on the north side of the in the Avila National Forest Park, at I think elevation of like 7,700 feet, I believe.
Dude, you tore that place apart.
Well, I spent a ton of time researching that facility, from watching people's vacation videos to finding the blueprints of it in Spanish. I mean, it was just hours and hours of research to get that right, because that scene was so much fun to write.
I got to tell you, Matthew Betley, I am all in with you on that. And I can tell I'm into a great thriller when I not only encounter systemic action, good dialogue, great exposition, but it takes me to things or places I don't know anything about. And so your book made me want to explore the Humboldt Hotel. I wanted to see this place and understand it. So is that kind of one of your goals, or was that sort of peripheral in your new book, Rules of War?
Well, I wanted to, for the new book, I wanted to do things I haven't done in the previous three, and I believe I accomplished that successfully. And so that was one of the reasons when I was researching Caracas, I was looking for unique landmarks, and as soon as I saw that, I absolutely knew what I had to do. It was like a lightning bolt. It wasn't even a question.
I could see you right now thinking to yourself, dude, I am going to tear this place apart. This is going to be so great. This is Matthew Betley. His new book, Rules of War, released today. You got to go out and snag a copy. And I think you emphasize, because of the name Rules of War, the rules have changed. So how have those rules changed for the United States and maybe for those people who protect her?
Well, in the book, you know, the world, in my opinion, operates on a bit of a grayscale, and sometimes, you know, your adversaries become your allies, and that's exactly what happens when Logan and his task force find themselves working with the Sabin, the secret police down there in Venezuela, but they're working for a mutual ends. And that's what I refer to is, you know, sometimes alliances change and shift, and you have to work with people, just like in reality, that you may not agree with or you may not like. But sometimes the greater good demands it.
In the new book, Rules of War, I find it interesting that at the very beginning of Chapter 20, the very first line, Logan West thinks, if we make it out of this, I am never coming back to Venezuela. Was that purposeful?
Yeah, that seems like something Logan would think.
Yes, yes.
In fact, that seems like something I would think.
And then, I guess what? You threw in an earthquake because you got bored for a while?
Don't say yes. I'm proud. That is something I'm especially proud of.
It's just everything is in here. You call part 4 of your book "Last Train to Caracas," and I won't go into that very much, but oh my God, what a part of that is.
Yep, So readers by now have caught on to the fact that I like to throw in little sarcastic titles for these very intense, violent, emotional sequences, just because that's my sense of humor. So that's why Last Train to Caracas was the perfect title for that sequence.
You, in Rules of War, you wanted to take the locale to someplace different, but was there anything else that you specifically wanted to do with Rules of War? I mean, we know it's an action fest from beginning to end, and that's what you do. But with your 4th book, were you looking to do anything additional to that in Rules of War?
Yeah, absolutely. With this book, so I'm setting up books 5 and 6. In fact, one of the fan favorite characters, and I won't give away which one, I intentionally put that character through an absolutely gut-wrenching emotional ringer. And that is because that's the focus of Book 5. And Books 5 and 6 are plotted in my head already. And so I always knew what I was going to be doing with this character because everyone loves this character. And so that was also one of the big goals to accomplish with this book. And it's like I said, to me, the characters are what matter first and foremost, and it's that emotional connection that the readers feel. I want the readers to feel the exhilaration and the adrenaline and the action, but I want them to feel the emotion too.
When you said earlier that the Vice President of the United States is a bad guy, you weren't kidding. And folks, if you expect anything in particular to occur to the President of the United States, all I can say is it's not what you're thinking. So that's why you have to read the book. But then we get into the Vice President and jaguars, literally jaguars. And then there was a character, and he doesn't seem to be a major character. I'm sorry, go ahead, Matthew.
No, it depends on which character. Yeah, I don't want you to give away too many plot points. But for this one, I also brought back a key character from the first book, and had that character appear like out of the blue next to Logan, which causes his jaw to almost drop because of what's going on.
Okay, all right. Okay, this is me revamping things just a little bit because, folks, you do have to read the book, Rules of War, by Matthew Betley. I have to ask you this, and I don't think I'm going to Bigfoot your plot when I mention this, but I find it interesting, and I'm really curious. To me, it seems as though you insert little Easter eggs into your books about yourself, but I don't know if it's intentional or not. So I'd like to refer to this paragraph on page 138 of Rules of War by Matthew Betley. Logan's experience included enough close calls in helicopters, including one crash into the Euphrates River in Iraq more than 2.5 years ago, to last a lifetime. As fearless as he could be, he was always aware that when he flew in a helicopter, he was truly not in control, while the odds of a crash were low. After all the things that Logan had done in the Marine Corps, it was the one thing that had always unnerved him. He despised being helpless. And flying in a CH-46 or a CH-53E across Iraq, hydraulic fluid leaking onto his pack, had reinforced to him just how much he was. Matthew Betley, I got to ask you, is that you? Did you find helo hydraulic fluid leaking onto one of your packs one day?
Oh, yeah. Well, in fact, the rule of thumb is you don't get worried until the hydraulic fluid stops leaking, and that's literally because that means it's gone and you're screwed. Yeah, no, that happened too in Iraq, flying around in a helicopter. Yes, there's nothing worse than when you're pretty certain your helicopter's getting shot at and there's nothing you can do about it.
Oh, God, I read that and I thought, oh, man, okay, this is all the bells and claxons are going off in my head about this. I'm curious, Matthew Betley, if anybody has asked you this before. I suspect somebody has. I have not. But I'll ask anyway. I sense that writing books is therapeutical for you. Or is it?
It's funny. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about that. In fact, I was asked that in another interview earlier today.
Okay.
And when I was writing Overwatch, I really didn't think it was therapeutic, but when I looked back on it, it was definitely cathartic because I agree that writing is a bit of wish fulfillment in that I wish this is how we would handle these international situations. I wish that our politicians would actually have some backbone and integrity and try and handle things in the right way. So, I've created this fictional alternate universe where they do, and they try to at least. So in that regard, it is. But first and foremost, I want to entertain. I absolutely want to take the readers on a very wild ride each and every time, first and foremost. My needs are secondary, tertiary, and then whatever the term is next.
Folks, and I need to emphasize this, if you enjoy thrillers that aren't stagnant, that get up and rock and roll, and you better hang on, and you're probably going to find yourself staying up late at night you need to read Matthew Betley. His books are fabulous, great thrillers. The action starts right off the bat. And isn't that kind of how you got into this whole thing in the first place? You read a book, I think you were on vacation with your wife, and you read a book and you said, this is terrible.
Yeah, exactly. And I tell that story all the time because I always get asked that question. I was sober for 6 months. It was August of 2009. I was on vacation with my wife, and this international spy thriller was so boring that I was viscerally angry that I had to read it, but I'm one of those people that I can't just dismiss a book once I start reading it. And I remember only one person got shot in the book, and it should have been the protagonist because the tactics were so bad. And I turned to my wife and said, this book is awful, I can do a better job. And that's all it took to plant the seed, and a year later, I obsessed about it so much that I finally was physically compelled to sit down and started writing what became Overwatch.
Matthew Betley, people have said that day to day you are John Quick. Sarcastic, irreverent, self-deprecating, you don't take yourself seriously, but when you're pissed, the Logan West comes out in you. Is that something that kind of informs and guides and kind of illuminates your writing?
Oh, absolutely, and that was my intent. When I sat down, I had no idea what I was doing. I sat down, I should say I knew exactly what I wanted to do. How to do it, I was like, okay, I'm going to write what I know. That was just my instinct. And so I split my personality in half, and I created my two main characters based on that. I mean, it was really that simple. I cannot emphasize that enough. But no one ever sees the Logan West. Plus, I'm too old to run and gun anyway.
I don't think I'm speaking out of school by saying this, and I made reference to it earlier. But I understand that some more congratulations may be due to you because your first book, the 2016 book Overwatch, has been optioned as a movie for Thunder Road, according to an article that I read in 2018. But somebody said that something has happened since, and is there any kind of an update?
Yeah. In the bad news category. So
damn.
We had signed contracts with Thunder Road. We had a producer on board, a screenwriter, and then we found out, and it was last year, the producer ended up going and taking a job for Sylvester Stallone and managing the entire Balboa Productions. And as a result, Thunder Road reevaluated the project, and with no producer attached, they backed out of the contract, paid a part of the option, which is very common. This happens all the time. And now we're back to the drawing board again. But that's nothing unique. For every 100 projects that Hollywood acquires, they make one. And so we already have interest. I'm confident that this will get made somehow, some way. The more I watch content on Netflix and Amazon, the more inclined I'm to go that route. So we'll see what happens, but we'll be pursuing things again shortly.
I can only hope one thing, and I don't know the answer, so obviously I'm going to ask you. Did you at least get the rights to your book back?
Oh, of course. Absolutely.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Great. Because in the future, because Matthew Betley, I am absolutely convinced that one of your books will come to the screen, whether it's bigger or smaller. And I don't know if anybody has asked you this, and maybe tons of people have. Do you see anybody in particular playing Logan West?
No, not anymore. When I first started writing, it was in 2010, and I always envisioned an angry Chris Evans. If you imagine the Korean action thriller Snowpiercer on the train.
Yes, I saw that.
Not Captain America Chris Evans.
Right.
But since then, so many things have happened, and I have no idea. As our last producer said, it's just got to be somebody who's a really good-looking 35-year-old actor who can act. I said, okay.
Okay, I got to ask you this question. It's the bottom of the hour. I'm going to have to take a break. If you got to go, I understand. If I can hold you over for maybe another 5 minutes, decision is up to you, sir. I fervently understand that you have gotten probably zero sleep tonight, and it's really late where you are.
No, I can go I'll go for 5 more minutes, sure.
Okay. Alrighty, folks, we are talking to Matthew Betley. His brand new book, Rules of War, is out today in hardback. And I haven't mentioned this before, but I need to mention this again. To me, that says a lot about you. Your very first book, Matthew Betley, Overwatch, came out in hardback. And I think, quite frankly, that is a massive testimony to the publisher believing in you and believing that you're the real deal. And I believe that too, sir.
Well, I appreciate that. We're very fortunate that all 4 books have come out in all formats, including audiobooks.
So, Matthew Betley, we're going to take a break, be about 5 minutes. Folks, you're listening to Matthew Betley, author of the brand new thriller released today, Rules of War. I'm BZ, and we'll be right back after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad. Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I am BZ, the Bloviating Zeppelin, on the SHR Media Network. We are talking to thriller author Matthew Betley, whose 4th book, Rules of War, has come out today. And Matthew Betley, I just want to tell you that I got a ton of people in my chat room, and essentially almost to a one. Here's a quote from one of the people in chat. Hey, Matthew, good interview. Makes me want to read your book. So folks are liking what you're saying, and they want to read your book. That's the purpose. Get readers.
Well, that's good, and I really appreciate that. I'm glad that people are listening, and I'm glad that people want to try the series out. Especially in a market that is saturated with thriller writers.
Couple more questions, and then I know you got to go. One of them is, your books to me seem very cinematic. And by that, I'm saying, and especially in the scene in the hotel earlier in the book, I kept thinking, I can see this. I can see this. I can see this happening. I can see this happening to him. I can see this happening to Logan West and all the people that are occurring in there. Do you write cinematically? Because it's as if that book specifically, your newest one, Rules of War, man, that would translate onto a screen. Incredibly so, in my opinion.
Well, so I've always wanted my books to be made into movies. I wouldn't say I write cinematically. I write very visually.
Visually,
so
okay.
My creative process is I sit down, I know what I'm going to write that day or that hour or two or whatever I'm doing for writing. And I put on my headset, my earbuds. I listen to the musical scores to these epic action movies or thrillers. And I don't feel like an author. I feel like I'm a scribe. I literally am just describing what I'm seeing in my head, what I'm hearing from the dialogue, and what I'm feeling. And that's it. It's really that simple for me. And so that's why my books are so visual, and why I really try and make the reader feel like he or she is right there in the middle of it all.
So you're writing actually very viscerally from the gut onto the page, coming out of your brain, through your fingertips, and onto the keyboard. And I got to say, sir, it works. It translates. I think it's a great art that you have that is at your fingertips. Maybe I'm kind of screwing this up, but the dealio is, if I tell you folks that Matthew Betley is a great thriller writer, and he is, I really want you to go out and read the book to understand what I'm saying. And I don't say this readily or easily. Once you open the page, the book is going to take off like a rocket until you stop and close the book. Period. End of statement.
Yep, that's the goal with every single book that I've written. That is to send people on a wild, emotional rocket ride, a roller coaster that just shakes them all over the place, so that when they're done, it's a thoroughly satisfying experience.
So Matthew Betley, thank you again for being here tonight so very damn late. I got one question, final one. Maybe this is forecasting into the future that you haven't even considered yet. Have you ever thought about changing genres? I know it's heresy. And is there anything other than what you're doing now, thrillers, that kind of appeal to you?
So there's a sequence that takes place in Maryland in Rules of War, and I wrote that sequence because 2 years ago I used to joke I could take a bunch of people working at a fast food restaurant and make it exciting, and that's how that sequence in Maryland resulted in this thriller, and I made it such a key, consequential, critical piece of the story. So I've often joked, my wife has said, yeah, you can't write a love story. And I'm like, I think I could. It would just be a really intense one. And probably a lot of people would die. But we'll see. I have considered it, but not anytime in the future. I think I want to focus on this. We're still building a following. This book by far has had the most exposure out of the four, but we are still. This is a brutal business for any aspiring writers out there. Even at this level, we're still building a following, and we're hoping that with this book we've reached that tipping point to get it to the next level.
Someday, Matthew Betley, this is what I'd love to do. I think this would be incredible. I had Kurt Schlichter on about a month and a half ago. I'd love to have a show with you and Kurt Schlichter and me and just talk about stuff. Kurt is great people, and I just thought I should tell you when he was on the show, he gave kudos and a shout-out to you as well.
Kurt's fantastic. He's one of my very good friends. I actually talked to him earlier tonight. So he's brilliant. He's sarcastic. He's hilarious. And what's so funny is that people on the left hate him and think he's this awful, horrible human being, when he's actually a very sincere, caring, genuine guy. It's just that they hate what he says because they disagree with it.
Well, right, and he has his own hashtag caring. Okay, so...
which is so fantastic.
Okay, Matthew Betley, please tell us where we can find your newest book, Rules of War, any websites, social media that you'd like to talk about.
Well, the books are available from everywhere: Amazon, Books A Million, Barnes & Noble, IndieBound, and then people should definitely follow me on Twitter at Matthew Betley, and then there's also my Facebook fan page, which is Matthew Betley as well. It's all pretty straightforward, and then of course MatthewBetley.com.
Okay, so again, Matthew Betley, his new book, Rules of War. Thank you ever so kindly for staying up so late to be here tonight. I hope to have you back on with your newest book, number 5. So thank you again, sir. God bless you. Take care, and you be safe, sir.
Thanks, BZ. You take care. I really appreciate it. And thanks to all the listeners out there.
Thank you very much.